Hey guys, welcome back to the deck box. Today, oh my god, we got stuff to talk about. I was going to talk about Grimgrin, because if you haven't seen this yet, on the channel page, at the bottom of the channel page, there is a moderator module. I'll put a link to the channel right here. Go check that out. You can type in what card you'd like to see talked about on the Spell Spotlight. There's something more important to talk about today, and if you haven't seen it already, you might not know, but there's more cards that have been spoiled for Dark Ascension. So if you don't like to have your card spoiled, you want to wait till the pre-release and all that, then don't watch this video anymore. Stop it now, because I'm about to talk about some stuff. Welcome to the show. Let's get going. Before I start, let me let you know that this is going to be a bit of a longer episode, because we're going to be talking about a bunch of the cards, just going through them rapid fire. So, first off, we've got a card called Gather the Townsfolk. It is a 2-drop. 1 plains, 1 anything. It is a sorcery. It lets you put 2 1/1 white human creature tokens onto the battlefield. And then it also, here's the really exciting part, has a new phrase, a new dynamic to the game called Fateful Hour. And what Fateful Hour is, it's triggered if you have 5 or less life. And it gives you a different effect. So Fateful Hour on Gather the Townsfolk changes it from being 2 1/1 white humans to 5 1/1 white humans for 2 mana. So very decent if you're about to die. Still decent if you're not about to die. And you ask, how is that possible with a card like Timely Reinforcements, which give you 3 and possibly 6 life for 3 mana? And I'll tell you why. Because they're not just soldier tokens, they're human tokens. And you go, well, what does that mean? Champion of the freaking Parish. That's why that matters. Champion of the Parish, 2 more mana, you get 2 1/1s, you give him 2 counters, it'll trigger him twice. Or, if you're about to die, you do that, you just gave him 5 counters. That puts him up to 6/6 for 2 mana. So if you're playing a white human-y deck and you've got a set of Champion of the Parish, Gather the Townsfolk might be a nice way to go. Next card, we got Thereve Doomslayer. He is a 3-drop rare for 2 plains and 1 extra mana, and you tap him to put a 1/1 white human creature token onto the battlefield. Again, triggering Champion of the Parish every turn. So you're getting a lot of human play with the white, obviously still. And then his Fateful Hour trigger. As long as you have 5 or less life, other creatures you control get +2/+2. That's nuts! Just makes you really hard to kill when you're about to die, pretty much. He's basically half of an Elesh Norn for 3, and you almost dying. But still, if you're making tons of 1/1s, you're just making them every turn, and then at the end of the game, shit, I got tons of 3/3s. It can really turn a game around for you, probably. That's what I'm seeing. Next card we have is Ray of Revelation. It is an instant for 2 mana, 1 plains, and 1 additional mana, and it allows you to destroy target enchantment. So it's kind of half of a naturalize, so you're kind of like, yeah, whatever, it's not that great. But wait, it has flashback for 1 green mana, so if you're playing white and green, it allows you to actually play it again for cheaper. I think it's more of a sideboard option, considering, you're not always running the risk of having your opponent having that many enchantments in the first place, and you don't want it to be a dead drop. So it might be a good sideboard option. Maybe. I guess we'll see. The next card I want to talk about is Increasing Confusion. Increasing Confusion is a sorcery for X cost and 1 blue mana, and what it allows you to do is target player puts X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. If Increasing Confusion was cast from the graveyard, because it has a flashback as well for the same amount of mana, just an X and 1 blue mana, if it's cast from the graveyard, that player puts twice as many cards into his or her graveyard instead. So, we have possibly a mill card or self-mill if you're running stuff like Splinter Fright or Boneyard Worm or any of those cards, or Wreath of Geists or Bone Horde. Using this card in a blue-green deck possibly could work out very well for you. Okay, here comes a very interesting card. I think kind of crappy, not that good, but really interesting. What we have is for 5 mana, the same amount as normal Mind Control, we have a blue card called Soul Seizer. And what Soul Seizer does is it is a creature, it is a spirit, and it's got flying. And when it does damage to your opponent, which probably will because it's flying, you can transform it, and then you attach it to a target creature that that player controls, that being your opponent, because that's who you hit. It then transforms into an enchantment. This is a double-faced card that changes from a creature to an enchantment. Craziness! You control enchanted creature. So it's a mind control, it's also a flyer. I don't know, it's going to do 1 damage and then it's going to mind control for the 5 mana that you'd usually pay just to mind control something. So I think it's kind of a little bit less useful than mind control, but I could be wrong. People could find uses for it. Next card we're going to talk about is Curse of Thirst. Kind of like the way that sounds. It kind of rolls out the tongue. Curse of Thirst. Costs 5 mana. It's another curse, an enchantment, an aura curse. And it says enchant player at the beginning of your enchanted player's upkeep, Curse of Thirst deals damage to that player equal to the number of curses attached to him or her. And you're kind of going, okay, but let's think about that for a second. First of all, Curse of Thirst is a curse in the first place, so it's going to do 1 damage already. And then secondly, Curse of Bitterheart, is that what it's called? I don't quite remember. I think it is. Deals 1 damage to them every time they take their turn. So you play a bunch of those. You play Curse of Thirst to do 1 damage for each one of those again. You're starting to do a lot of damage every turn. So curse decks could start becoming viable. Just curse the shit out of them until they play a Parasine or a Witchbane Orb. Anyways, it could be interesting is what I'm saying. Next card is called Grave Crawler. And this is a card that I really like. I really like this, and I'm excited to play with it, I think. It is a rare. It is a 1 black mana drop, and what it is it's a creature, it's a zombie, and the Gravecrawler cannot block, okay? But what it can do is you can cast it from your graveyard as long as you have a zombie. So if you're running a zombie deck, oh, he's a 2/1 by the way. If you're running a zombie deck, Gravecrawler can always, like, you can discard him from your hand, play him back for 1 black. He's a blocker for almost ever. He just gets killed, bring him back. Yeah, he's good. He's really good. Double-faced card again. Here's a big one. Seems somewhat familiar to some old cards that I knew. His name is Ravenous Demon. And Ravenous Demon is a 5-drop for 3 colorless and 2 black mana. And what he does is you sacrifice a human, and then you can transform him. And you can only activate this ability anytime you would cast a sorcery. Pretty obvious. He's at 4/4, but when you transform him by sacrificing a human card, he gains flying, he gains trample, and he becomes a 9/9. So he's a 9/9 flying trample. Big problem. The drawback is at the beginning of your upkeep, you have to sacrifice a human. And if you can't, then you have to tap him, and he's going to deal 9 damage to you. So you need to make sure you have those humans so you can keep doing the damage to your opponent and not to yourself. So I'm thinking, white-black, use the Gather the Townsfolk possibly, and you'll have a constant stream of humans that are easy and cheap, and or even using the Thereve Doomslayer, because he can just create humans for you to sacrifice to your Archdemon and keep dealing 9 damage of flying trample. Another pretty cool card. I don't know if I like it that much, but it could be very interesting, especially if you're discarding and stuff like that. Zombie Apocalypse. He is a 6-drop, so pretty hefty, but what it does is it returns all the zombie creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So they're all going to the battlefield. They can't attack in the first turn, but still, anything that was in your graveyard before, so you could like maybe self-mill yourself and do this, that would be pretty insane. You just drop them all onto the battlefield. And also, it destroys all humans. So say your opponent has humans in their deck, and they're chilling on the field, they're all dead. So that's pretty cool, I guess. That's another rare. And then we have a card that we already know, guys, but now we have the normal artwork. We had the alternate artwork before, and that is Faithless Looting. The 1 red drop sorcery where you draw 2 cards, and then you discard 2 cards, and it also has a flashback for 3 mana, 2 colorless, 1 red. So, Faithless Looting, people. We're already quite aware of that card. Let's move on. We have Near Heath Stalker. Near Heath Stalker is a 5-drop for 1 red and 4 colorless, and he has a dynamic we haven't seen for a while. I wasn't around for, I think this used to exist. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I will be corrected if I'm wrong. It's called Undying, and what Undying does is when he dies, if he had no 1/1 counters on it, he will come back with a 1/1 counter on him. Okay? So basically, he doesn't die the first time that he dies, if that makes any sense. He actually comes back stronger. So he's a 5-drop for a 4/1 who dies and comes back as a 5/2. However, if he has the counter on him, which he will after the first time he dies, unless he gets rid of that counter somehow, he will die the second time, because he'll have a counter on him, he won't be able to add the counter and all that, he just dies. The next card we have is called Mon Doran Shaman. It is a new red werewolf, double face card. Been hearing a lot about how there wasn't going to be more double face cards, no more werewolves, blah, blah, and I'm like, guess not. Here it is, Mon Doran Shaman, or Mon Doran Shaman. So 4-drop, 3 colors, 1 red, creature, human werewolf shaman. At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were played last turn, transform. Pretty obvious, that's what werewolves do. So she comes out as just a 3/2, and she transforms into a 5/5, where whenever an opponent casts a spell, it deals 2 damage to that player. That's brutal. It makes them, it just hurts them so much. He is a rare, or she is a rare, but it's insane. Basically, just punish them like crazy for doing anything. And also, it's a 5/5, so it needs to be dealt with. You need to do something to deal with it, so it's going to hurt you no matter what. Awesome card. Awesome, awesome, awesome card. This card we have is Hunger of the Howl pack. It is a 1 green mana drop. It is an instant, and you put a 1/1 counter on a target creature. Okay, decent. But if Morbid is triggered, it puts 3 1/1 counters on that creature instead, if a creature died this turn. So, interesting card, I guess. I'm not sure how to play that one. It seems decent. It could be very good limited, but other than that, not too sure. It's nice that it's instant. Definitely really nice that it's instant. Next card that we have is Strangled Root Geist. 2 green. This is a good card. 2 green. He has haste, so as soon as he comes out, he just attacks. He's a 2/1 with Undying, right? So you can use him as sort of like removal, I guess. Like, well, not removal, but you put him out. He does 2. If you block it, it's still going to come back, but he's going to come back a bit stronger as a 3/2 instead. So, very good card. The last card that's been spoiled this little round is, it's a double-faced artifact card. And what it is, it's called the Chalice of Life. You pay 3 mana, and you get an artifact where if you tap it, you gain 1 life. But then, if you have at least 10 life more than your starting life total, you transform the Chalice of Life. Okay? And it turns into Chalice of Death. And what Chalice of Death does, it's a bit crazier. You tap it, and every time it taps, it deals 5 damage. Actually, not even. The target player loses 5 life. It's more direct. Okay? So, let's talk about this in terms of what it would work in, and that would be basically any like life-giving deck. Like, you play white, you give yourself life somehow, whether it's from Angel's Mercy, plenty of other cards out there that give you life, but you get 10 life above your total, using lifelink possibly too, and then Chalice of Death starts doing disgusting things. Just starts hurting the player every turn. 5, 5, 5. Unless they are able to get rid of the artifact itself. And if you have a couple of these out, they're both going to be doing 5, doing 10 every turn. Like, it's a decent card if you play it correctly. So there you go, guys. Those are the 15 cards that have been spoiled for Dark Ascension now. Very exciting stuff. Very much looking forward to Dark Ascension coming out in the end of January, I think. Something like that. Very excited. I'm sure you are. Let me know what you think of these cards down below. Let me know which one you think is what you're looking forward to the most. Thanks again for watching, everybody. This has been the Deck Box, the Spell Spotlight. Like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. And we'll see you Wednesday or Thursday. Roll for choice, people.